I have a friend who's the poster child of infomercials. Like, it's the latest and greatest, right? He always falls for them. Anything that comes out. And I bring that up because I think AI in a lot of ways is like that. Like the AI, I can apply it here, I can apply it there. It's going to solve all things. It's going to be the instant gratification, right? The fast fix. And what we found is, and there's reports on this that 95% of AI implementations have failed. They haven't delivered. Why? Because the underlying foundation of any AI implementation are basic fundamental processes and good data, right? You can't, you know, AI is automation on steroids. It's intelligent automation on steroids. So if you're going to do that, you don't want to, automate a bad process. You don't want to look at and draw conclusions from bad data. But so if you don't fix some of your fundamentals, throwing AI at it is just going to cause more problems, right? So what are some things that we look for? I mean, I've said it earlier, like the foundation, and I love using the analogy of a house, right? Everybody's seen a house being built, right? What do they start with? A foundation, right? And you don't just put that foundation anywhere, right? You don't put it in the middle of the street. You don't put it in the middle of a pond. You put it in a very specific spot. In fact, they get a surveyor out and say, hey, you need to put it here, right? Likewise, when you're building a go-to-market strategy, you got to properly define where my foundation is, right? That's my ideal customer profile, where I have a right to win, where I'm going to build my go-to-market strategy, my go-to-market team, my go-to-market process on, right? That's my right to win. A corollary to that is like who within my ideal customer profile are the people I'm going to be selling to, right? Why is that important? Because I need to know how to position my value proposition, my products and services vis-a-vis my competitors so I can win, right? So I got to understand, what drives the buying decision behavior of my buyers, right? And how my product solves their problem better than my competitors, right? Foundational. If they don't have that, good luck, right? And that's a data-driven exercise, obviously, on some of the market analysis. But also, it's a lot of, with the technology we have today, right, around call recordings and things like that, you can really get instant feedback on your buyers, right? At Cortado, we regularly, almost always, with the permission of our clients, we are recording calls, not for various reasons. Why? Because we want to take good notes and we want to hear what they're saying so that we can pay attention to the call, not again taking physical notes. But we also leverage that to update and augment our own understanding of our buyers of our services, right? Real time feedback in the moment, right? Why? Because we want to sharpen our positioning and our understanding of who buys our products and services, right? So that's number one. Number two is, you know, people, right? If you know who you're going to sell to and where those buyers are, right? Geographically, vertical, whatever, however you look at your market, how many are there? How big is the market, et cetera? Now, what are the type of people I need to sell my products and services? There's not one engagement that we have been asked, that I've been on personally, that I'm not asked, is my team good enough? Do I got the right people? Is my sales leader good enough? Right? Because talent is 50% of the equation, right? 50% of success is talent. And then the other 50% is, hey, you've got to enable that talent to be successful, right? So talent, do they have the right talent? Have they properly defined the job descriptions, right? Have they defined what are the key metrics for success, right? If my whole strategy is around, going and, prospecting and hunting, is my job description aligned to that? Are my people aligned to that job description, right? Et cetera, right? So I look for that. I look for just core processes, right? Lead management. How do I take a lead and qualify it and then send it to sales? Once sales gets it, what sales do to convert it to a customer? And then customer success process. Okay, how do I make them a repeat customer, right? So I look for core processes, right? And then I look for, are the systems configured to the process, right? And then lastly is really around, performance management, right? And what I mean by that is how well is the team being held accountable for the success metrics? And how are the leaders, the sales managers or sales directors, or whatever you call them, in smaller teams, it could be just a sales leader, how are they holding the team accountable? What does that cadence look like? What are the one-on-ones look like? What are the pipeline calls look like? What are the forecasting calls look like? How is that sales leader, that sales manager developing his team, optimizing the performance of his team, measuring his team against certain success criteria, right? I look for those things. So those, again, fundamentals, right? These are all fundamental things. And this is something we see a lot of, right? Is compensation, right? Why do I bring compensation up? Because compensation is the big motivator, right? Comp motivates behavior. Like, I am going to get paid money if I do certain things, right? So I better make sure that the things that I'm being motivated to do are the right things, and that those things that I'm being motivated, those behaviors, are aligned to the strategic imperatives of the business, right? You'd be surprised how often I walk into a situation where the compensation plan is actually motivating behavior that's detrimental or misaligned with where the company wants to go, right? You may say, wow, that's kind of odd. Like, yeah, it is odd, but I do find it quite a bit, right? Especially when a company is getting bought by private equity and the investment thesis is going in one direction or a new direction. You need to realign or those incentives to, you know, deliver on where the company needs to go, not where the company just came from, right? So that's one of the things I look for, those 4 or 5 things I just mentioned.